with the environment, so they're coming up. So anyway, you're not here to hear all that, you're here to hear Renee. So I just want to introduce Renee, and I'm gonna have some excerpts from her biography here, and we're so lucky to have her. Renee Wasson Dillard is a traditional Anishinaabe fiber artist and teacher raised in Anishinaabe communities of Michigan. The art of natural fibers and weaving was passed on to Wasson at an early age by both her mother and paternal grandmother. Wasson started weaving her first yarn sash at age 9. Still have it?
No.
No. Just the memory of it. It came natural to her and thus began a lifetime of artistic expression and community teaching through traditional Anishinaabe approaches. Throughout the years, she's also learned from other Anishinaabe community teachers and continues on her path to rediscover knowledge and further sharpen her skills. Wasson has performed countless presentations, consultations, and exhibitions at universities, museums, and community organizations. And I see that you were also contributed to a book that was just published.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I owe you.
Yeah, maybe you tell them about that later.
Sure.
I saw that there's a big exhibition that just opened at the DIA too of traditional, not just traditional, but Anishinaabe artists. She's taught an immeasurable number of workshops and classes, from one-to-one mentoring to classes of 30 or more, from young children at schools and day camps to elders and families in Anishinaabe communities. Wasson is a recipient of First Peoples Fund Community Service Award. This award is designed to support essential bearers of cultural practice to carry forward their wisdom and help Native communities heal and thrive. First People Fund recognizes 4 to 6 Native artists each year who work selflessly throughout their lives to share their cultural knowledge and ancestral gifts with their communities. She's volunteered a great deal of time and processed with materials to teach, motivated by her love of fibers, weaving, and revitalizing Anishinaabe ways. From her earliest exposure to creating functional art in finger weaving through more than 50 years of various fiber work and instructed others, Wasson is a master artist of Anishinaabe natural fiber skills and knowledge, and we're so lucky to have her here. So please welcome.
Now, miigwech, indulge me for a minute. Wasson Indigenous, Nimki Dodem, Waganuk Sing and Da Bendaquis, Kachimiigwech Kimi Xiong, for all being here. What I did is introduce myself to you and the spirits that hang around me. So that's the one language that can be understood by everyone. It's our original language. It's the oldest language of this land. That's the only language that was come from here. So at any rate, we're going to have kind of a informal type gathering. So more interactive. If you have questions, you can interrupt me. I might forget where I was going, so you might have to remind me again. I have kind of a lot of slides because they're going in different areas. But what you're looking at now was a few years ago. I've lost some weight since then. But this is a studio that was donated to me by all of the people that she was talking about earlier, that I have traveled for a good number of years, reteaching some of these skills to the Native communities in the Woodland area. And I'm now ready to be at home. And it's too hard to travel like that. So now they come to me. And so they all pooled their money and gave me this studio that's in the backyard of my house and housing, tribal housing in Harbor Springs. So this is where I live. And well, my house, all of this stuff that you see in the background there used to be in my house. I had a kitchen table, but it was a crafting table. I had chairs, and I stored everything in there because rodents and insects are my enemy with natural fiber. And so I have to take care of things, and I can't put it in the shed, kind of thing. These fibers live with me. So I'm very fortunate to have that studio, and so now that's where I do my work. If you ever happen to see any of my work, you'll see this symbol somewhere on there, if not implied. I am ThunderClan, and it's really hard to draw thunder. My name is Wasson in the language, and Wasson means light all around. And it's the point where lightning strikes and then it goes. So that's who I am. That's how that works. And so I made a symbol that kind of looks like a W for Wasson, and then that's light all around. You see that? Then that's who made that. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on right at the moment, although this picture I think is last year or the year before. But what I'm doing nowadays, I'm going to try not and say What I'm doing nowadays is working more with my community people. And although other people call what I'm creating art, I see it more as just functional. Behind there, this is at one of our sacred grounds. These are community women from the Waganuxing community, otherwise known as the Little Traverse Bay Band. But Waganuxing in the language is the place of the crooked tree. And so that's what we call ourselves. And what we're doing is cleaning cattail. We only harvest the male plant out of the female, out of both plants. The female is the one with the corn dog on it. Okay, that kind of looks like a corn dog, right? That's the seed head. And there's other uses for that. But at the point where I come and harvest is at the peak of growth. And sorry, gentlemen, but at the risk of giving you a truth, in all things male and female, the male is expendable. Because we need the female to repopulate the area. In most cultures, that's why men go to war and women don't. It's just a way to protect the future. And in Anishinaabe practices, I still follow those basic rules. In all things that are male and female, I will go for the male and leave the female to repopulate the area. And so this is a lot of women's work. Behind there, you can see the frame of what we're going to cover. These will be cattail mats. And first, we harvest them, separate them, set them out to dry. In the Michigan sun, it probably takes a couple weeks. I have to go out and shake the dew off them every morning. Otherwise, they get moldy spots. I call it babysitting cattails. I do this every year with or without help. But for most years, the Youth Conservation Corps that employs youth at the Natural Resources Department for the tribe, they usually come and help. So that feels really good knowing that the young people were involved in this process and learning about it as we go. I put the poles on there to kind of hold them down because the wind will blow and then I don't want to harvest them again. Although they're very fragile individually, but together they're extremely strong. In the center of a cattail leaf is a honeycomb of chambers of air. And it is the best insulation ever. Keeps you nice and cool, keeps you nice and dry. And so this doesn't always work. It's stuck. We want to go to and where am I pointing it?
Just back here. You're right, it is not wanting to go, is it?
Maybe we can do it, what do you call it? Manually. So normally cattails mats are made on the ground. I'm older, it's harder to get up off the ground. It doesn't look good. And at this age, I want to look good. So I hang them. This is a community young person lives up the road. Actually, her grandmother is a well-renowned quill box maker, Yvonne Kijik Walker. is her grandmother, and she lives up the road from me, and she's showing how that's happening. Can we go to the next one? Just to give you an idea, when they're done, this is how it will look. We went through two of them, but that's all right. They don't eventually we'll have it completely covered, but that's about 3 years worth of work. I wanted to talk a little bit about why I do it, because I had someone ask me the other day, why do you do that? And I had to think about it for a moment, because I've lived my life always doing this. And so I've come to realize that in our contemporary times, just the fact that I'm speaking a foreign language to my ancestors is testament of how much we've changed as a people, as Anishinaabe people, Native people, Indian people. And so what I'm trying to do is recreate or keep on creating a place that is very familiar to the ancestors of whom I no longer know their name. That's how old they are, but they come from this place, this land. They've harvested in the same places that I harvest. Those are my ancestors. That's the connection that I feel. And I believe that if I make a place that's familiar to them, they can help us come through ceremony and make the medicine work and unite our people. And after going through, you might have heard about the boarding school era and the relocation. My father was in the relocation program. My father went to boarding school. My grandmother went to boarding school. I did not go to boarding school, but I'm the first generation to be speaking this foreign language as my first language. But I'm working very diligently to become more fluent. We can go to the next one. Those mats were about about 6.5 foot tall, about 8 foot long. And this is black ash. Black ash basketry. I that paid the rent for a good number of years. I made baskets as my sole income for a very long time until EAB. You know what EAB is, right? You've heard of the emerald ash borer? Oh, yeah. Well, we live in acronyms, right? So the emerald ash borer, the native community, we knew about it far longer before the scientists picked it up. We're going, something is wrong in the bush. Something is killing the trees. It was first noticed in my area down around Allegan. And there was another basket maker down there, and he was showing me things that were going on. I was living up in Clare County at the time. And then I started noticing, and then the scientist came out and said, guess what? We've got an intruder. So I stopped making baskets commercially about 8 years ago over at the Maple River. There was a great floodplain right there, and there were a lot of ash, acres and acres of ash in there, and it was all dead. And when I came in there, I knew it was coming and I knew it was in there, but it moved so fast through that area. When I went to go check on them, a bug landed on my, EAB landed on my shoulder, and I just cried with the trees. That was the end of, yeah,
That,
yeah, that's
nothing, no processing.
no processing.
Yeah.
That's the natural, that's when it's fresh, and right now, just off the tree, it's like really white or a light tan. And then as it gets wet and the ultraviolet light, it'll turn a nice golden patina as it ages. But that's how I aged them, unless they've been in a museum out of ultraviolet light. And another, it's really hard to age, but you know. But yeah, I quit using, I did use color for a long time. And then I kind of got mad at the consumer because they would come up to my table of beautiful baskets with all these different techniques I'm showing off. And they go, oh, I wish that was green or purple. And I'm like, the color is store-bought. The color Rit dye. Unless I'm doing a piece for a museum or something like that, I've earned the right to use the dye out of a bottle. But it's 3 days. I just moved to Rit. And then when people started going, well, if that was purple and pink, then I would like, and I got mad. I got irritated with people. And I said, no more color. You got to just look at the weaving. You just got to look at the technique. Let's look at the next one. So this is a hamper. It's I wish I came up with some of these numbers and designs on my own, but there's so many baskets that I've looked at. I keep some of them in my home and I use them because they have unique numbers or a unique style that I haven't seen before. So this was a recreation of a museum piece that I had saw. And square bottom is not as easy as a round bottom. A lot of people think square bottom is so easy. For me, it's not quite like that. Let's look at the next one. Now I'm mixing them up a little bit. This has both cedar, bulrush, and black ash. This is a basket that you would hang on the wall. I call it a mail basket. You put it on, you know how all the mail piles up in some place? I can make it look good. We can stuff all our mail in there and then you know what I mean? And then it doesn't pile up on the table. The lower pieces there, the middle pieces are the cedar bark, and we're going to see some of that. But I started to incorporate some of the other fibers to stretch out my black ash. Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. The actual, okay, it goes really fast. So I used to number my baskets with my mark, and then started doing it, you know, and documenting it. I was trying to make a book of cool stuff and it just got to be, I need an assistant. That was too much work. But about a day, a basket, sometimes 2 or 3 days, depending. Yeah, it's about 80% of the work. But the hardest part of black ash basketry for me at this age is getting the tree out of the bush. I tore my rotator cuff hauling it out of the bush. It was a great fun for the doctor. He went and got all the rest of the people in there to come in and said, okay, now tell us, what did you do again? You know, he found it very interesting. I was visibly native, so yeah. Now tell me how you did that. You were carrying a tree out of the swamp. Yeah, I was. So yeah, it's but the pounding and all of that, if you pace yourself, you know, you have to pound with I use the back of an axe and I pound all along the growth rings, the whole length of the log, and then come up. But let's look at the next one. These are cedar and black ash. Cedar bark is harvested only in the late spring to about when the wild rice is ripe. I can't give you months anymore. We're in climate change. It's not a myth. I live with these fibers. I live on the land. It's real. What we're going through is not the usual that we're going through right now. But this is these two are cedar, and the cedar bark is pulled sustainably so it doesn't hurt the tree. I only take one little strip out of it. It will leave a scar and it makes it vulnerable. So I'm careful about how I harvest in a particular area. Then I take the outer bark from the inner bark, and then I have to let it season for a year. It needs to freeze and thaw, and it will pull the bigue or the pitch out of the bark, and it will start to become what we call amber, right? And it'll make little beads of amber that will be hardened, and then I can just knock it off so I can weave next year. So it's got to sit in my studio and season for a whole year. And then it just has a beautiful contrast with the ash. You know, it just, I just like the way that it adds in there. Let's see what else I put in here. It's like visiting old friends, you know? Oh, now we're moving on to bags. I want to talk about these three down here at the bottom. Those are basswood bags. That is also the fiber of basswood bark. That is also taken one little strip at a time from the basswood tree, and the outer bark is pulled from the inner bark, and then it is retted, retting, retted, or retting, which is kind of like a controlled rotting situation. The situation here is I'm having a really hard time retting in our water because we have such soft water. We have the best quality, wonderful water. That's why we have to fight with Nestle to stay out of here and leave our water alone. The tribe fought them and won, you know, just so that you know. So at any rate, the basswood bark is usually retted but I have friends in Minnesota that help me, and they have the runoff from the Great Mississippi that is part of their watershed, and that water in a lake or in a river and stream is naturally more corrosive than in a lake or a pond. And we found that out the hard way in Flint, right? Because that water was naturally more corrosive and that got to those old pipes, and that's what happened. So, but I could have told them that could happen. This is what we call, I think we call it used to be called ITEK, Indigenous Traditional Ecological Knowledge. We know how our environment works and how we can work with those. These other bags are yarn bags, and they're bags that sort of like this, only this bag is made with a design that's the same on the front and the back. So this isn't like used for ceremonial purposes or to carry sacred items. The bag themselves become sacred because of the process that it takes in order to create them. They're not made to be worn. That's why there's no handle on them. They're made to store sacred items, and we're still using these. They carry all kinds of, inside the bag are other bags and other bags and other bags. And it's sort of like when you go to, you know, you can close that up. See that at the top, there's usually a string tied in there or a piece of cloth. And it's like when grandma says, go get 50 cents out of my pocketbook and get you an ice cream. This is back in the day. And instead you bring the whole purse. You just don't go through someone else's bag ever. It's just not what would happen. It just wouldn't. So these have different designs on the front and the back. That one's pregnant up there. That's Mishu Bishu, the underwater panther. And this is the boy down here. He has horns, and the girl just have ears. They have, but they live out here. There's a nest out here that we talk about. And of course, thunderbirds. There's a thunderbird on the other side of this one. And then the thunderbird's over there on that side. But all of these designs are made with a real intention. If someone had taught me math according to weaving, I would have been an A student. As it is, I barely got through school. It just didn't make sense to me. And why was Jamie riding on the train to go to Detroit anyway? I mean, I just got all distracted with the story. You know what I mean? It just didn't make, so it's just a different way of learning. But I absolutely am good at math because you have to be good. All of these numbers are put in, the colors are put in way before you start. I have little pieces of paper with codes that nobody else will ever read that will tell what these designs are and how to create them, but only to remind myself what I'm doing. So let's look at the next one. Where else are we going? So there's the, oh yeah, I just wanted to show you that she's pregnant. And they each have a story. This one went to a gentleman down in the Pokagon, Potawatomi, or Potawatomi, we call them. So that's a pouch that's being used. Next one.
Renee.
Yeah.
What you said there about the codes, it made me think or feel curious, do you have do you have younger people who are training with you
Oh,
or apprenticing with you?
That's
Do
what-
you transfer those?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, to transfer knowledge. Anishinaabe is the name of my studio. Anishinaabe means the place where we weave. And so it's a place where Anishinaabe people come to weave. And then within my community, there's like quite a few young people that I've got my eye on that I make sure they know when I'm going to certain spots. There's some skills that as a more experienced weaver, I can recognize that real quick and say, hey, I call it blood memory too. It's sort of like something that they didn't know that it comes easy to them. It might be because grandma was a great weaver and had passed down some of that knowledge. This is the other side of that same bag, and it's about new life coming in. And that's why they've got the two ones down there, and it's defending them. That's why the feet are out. Thunderbird and underwater panther are in battle all the time. It's kind of an interesting story, but the sky realm and the underwater realm, they've been fixed to be at war. And then until one day they realize that they're equal and they'll create a new being, and it'll be a winged serpent. Interesting story. Yes.
I see there's a lot of pattern and math in your works, but do you ever just freestyle?
You bet. You bet I have to. And when that happens, that's kind of when that spiritual door opens. I call it screaming whispers, where what the spirits that kind of,
You're guided.
right, kind of guide me through that process when I just let it happen. Yeah, but the numbers still have to be in there. Let's look at the next one. Oh yeah, I forgot about this one. Also about union, strengths, and family. Next, let's see what's on the other side. Oh, I put two back to back, sorry. This one is basswood. This fiber was made into cordage on my thigh. After the basswood is retted, if I can't ret it in the water here, or I get somebody from Minnesota to help me, I like Cass Lake. I like their water over there. Anyway, for retting, but I can also take the basswood fiber and boil it, but it takes like 36 hours. It's like, I got to boil it like you're making sugar. You know what I mean? Boil and boil and boil and keep boiling it to loosen those fibers and then let it cool down. But it turns the fiber darker and doesn't take color as well. But this is redded and I made the cordage. The bag itself is only this big. The other bags that you were looking at were big. They were like this. This one is, I think this one is at MSU. Let's look at the other side.
It looks as though it's crochet. Do you use any metal or is it just tying one knot?
No knots, not one knot in the whole piece. That is called alternate space twine. And this is called compact twine. There's no space in between. This is alternate, which I'm taking two pairs, crossing them, and then twining it. Another two pair, crossing them and twining it. The numbers are 1 and 3. And yeah, thank you.
The Renee, not bark, but they naturally come apart in a string, like,
When I pull the basswood from the tree,
read it.
after it's redded, it's very soft.
It's just a natural pull that gives you that string or whatever to work with.
Yeah, I gotta pull it. When it's done being redded, that piece, I should have brought a piece with me. I'm doing it actually right now at home. I was doing it last night. It'll look like layers of tissue paper, like birch bark. It'll look like that, but when it's wet, it'll look like one piece. And when it's dry, you can just pull that apart. It'll just fall apart. When it's redded correctly. Good question. Let's go to the other side is the Thunderbird. It's one of my things that we have to do is to make sure that the bags can always be seen from both the front and the back. And then I put my hand in there so you can see how small the detail is. But the designs are different, just like we have two sides of ourselves. You know, it's talking about that as well. Well, what I pull from, I like to work with smaller pieces, but basswood is my favorite. You can also do the same thing with dogbane, with all kinds of, just try it out. I mean, there's just all kinds of fiber. But when I'm pulling it from the tree, sometimes I get them like 20 foot, you know, a big, long piece. But then, you know, it kind of crosses one way or another. So it's not going to be one continuous piece when it's redded. It's going to come apart like that. So I'm mostly working with 6 to 8 foot pieces and then, you know, adding on to it and adding on to it. It's just, this is winter work. I sit like this and watch TV and wear out my thigh. This is all I do. But, you know, I have certain, because you can't do it on your clothes, right? Right. So we're not going to see that today. We're not getting any Wasson thigh. That one took about a month. Yeah. Yeah. It was because of all the cordage and then dyeing it and the colors. It was inspired. It was an inspired piece. I also had for some reason, talking about, you know, letting yourself go, all of those pieces are beeswaxed. And so it will last longer. I like to use beeswax sometimes to preserve the pieces. Water the lack of water, I'm almost locking the moisture in it with the beeswax. The lack of water will kill this piece. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times I go into museums and see the old pieces inside of there, and their education tells them to keep it in a humidity controlled environment, but water is life. And if you don't give it a drink, it will die. It's not, you know, it has to have it. So where I go and I visit, some of the museums are looking to hydrate maybe every 5 years, give it a good drink of water. And then those pieces, if they want them to last longer, that's how you do it. Next one. This is bulrush twined with cedar. And you can see the alternate space twine, 1, 2, 3. See how you see the design, and it's a nice close-up picture. I've never found a piece like this made in a museum. This is contemporary. I'm using old techniques with new material. So I've incorporated bulrush with cedar, and I've never seen anything like that in the museums or anything. I'm just free flowing, just going for it. It's a great harvesting bag. It's very stiff when it's done. Bulrush grows, well, I like the bulrush right there at Crooked Lake. You'll see me out there, and I'm out there harvesting bulrush right there at the boat launch. But they've treated it for milfoil or something, and the bulrushes are dying back. And so, you know, I can argue all day long about treating the water and what damage, but the bulrush are the natural water protectors. That's what they do. They filter the water and they take care of the water and make sure that the water is healthy for us. So although it might be, and rice does the same thing. Rice is a water filter, and cattails, they're the same thing. They're a water filter and cleaning those things out. The bulrushes that we used to harvest right here at Crooked Lake, I grew up down in, I was a youngster in Kent County, south of Grand Rapids, but we would come every year to harvest these. That was my mother's wisdom. We passed a lot of bulrushes between Kent County and Emmett County in Michigan. But she felt it was really important that I continue that relationship with this piece of earth that my ancestors have always had. That was my mother's great wisdom. And so I'm forever grateful. And that's where these come from, is Crooked Lake. And they're not, I did it when they were too green, you know. I normally have to set them out, but it was so airy, it did all right. It still had to dry. I liked the green on it, and I couldn't stop myself. It felt fun. Let's look at the other side. This is a cedar basket with bulrush and dyed bulrush on it. There's no ash at all on that basket. I make a few of them. I'm not making as many baskets anymore. There's new young basket people coming up. There's a nice couple up in Bay Mills, and my son and his new wife both come from basket families, and so maybe they'll pick it up and continue along the way. Sometimes you hear people say, well, aren't you making baskets anymore? And they said, no, we're not that hungry anymore. Because basketry is a lot of work and not a lot of, and the thing of it is that when you make baskets, they lasted for a good 20, 30 years. So if you sold somebody a market basket in town, you can't go back in a couple of years. They don't need another one. It's still going strong, you know, and so they last a really long time. But I like the cedar. It's softer. When it dries, it's hard, not as hard as ash. If it gets wet again, you'll have to kind of reshape it. It might lose its shape if it was sitting out in the rain. And here we have some young people that come and help me. This is over at where they park the Coast Guard cutter in Charlevoix. Those are bulrush. Those are all bulrush behind us. See the reddish color towards the top of the plant? That's the cluster of flowers, and it opens up, and when it falls to the side, it's at peak. That means she's letting go of her seed. It's both male and female. Sometimes that happens with people too. But this is both, this plant is a self-pollinator like corn. Corn is a self-pollinator. Uh, Yes. 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 I'm pulling, I cut these at the peak of growth and then I pull the seed just to make sure that it's had its chance to do everything and leave it in the water. I'm not harvesting here anymore because they've also treated this body of water for narrow leaf cattail and the invasive phragmite. And I see that it's killing back the invasive phragmite, but it also burned up the bulrush. So for 2 years, I haven't been able to harvest over there. And I can't get any clear answers because the narrow leaf cattail is invasive to northern Michigan. And although that's what we have almost exclusively up here, it's really difficult to find broadleaf cattail. The narrow leaf cattail is what's up here, which causes a lot more work. But we go out and sing to the water, spend our time. This is like acres and acres and acres of bulrush. And I can't help but think we weren't the only people to do this at this time, out there. And so the only thing that's really different here is that our clothes are different, but we've been doing this activity every year. Let's see who else we got on here. Bring them home. This is what you got to do. I set up these platforms and they're tied at one end towards the top and I lay them out to dry. And underneath there, grasshoppers are my enemy. They just love them. Nom, nom, nom. So I have to, just like with cattail, I gotta go babysit them. Takes quite a while for bulrush, about a month. If it's wet, I'm out there shaking them all the time because again, I can't let the water just sit on there. It'll create a moldy spot and it happens very quickly. So I'm paying close attention, running out there and turning them and retying them because as they dehydrate, the bundles get smaller and then they start falling out. And so I'm retying and tying and retying again. But this is just after a harvest. It's pretty cool though. It looks nice. Then I boil. And see, you can see I've got them tied up into bundles. That's my old sugar bush stove. And it's just an old oil thing that's cut up and it works good for me. And I boil the cattails and then, or the bulrush, and then the bulrush kind of turn into the difference between cooked and uncooked spaghetti. Then they become really soft because they're like a porcupine quill. They're very rigid and waterproof because they were growing in the water and I gotta get that waterproof off. So I break down the fiber by boiling it so that it will take water and dye. And then I have to re-dry it again. Let's look at the next one. Oh, and then I re-dry it again and hang them up. It's a whole process. It's not a lot of fun. It's like sitting around watching paint dry, except I gotta go in there and tie them and retie them and tie them again. I'm babysitting them. This I'm showing you is a selvage edge of all of the bulrush pieces. This is the part that has to be passed down. There's patterns and numbers on there that are different for every community. These patterns that are on here come from Wapahopaqua, who gave it to my mom, who gave it to me. And Wapahopaqua or Suki Jinkade was Kickapoo. And Kickapoo was almost a fourth fire in the Three Fires Confederacy, if you didn't know that. You've heard of the Three Fires Confederacy, right? You heard of the Ottawa, Ojibwe, or Potawatomi created this impenetrable force here in Michigan. The only people that came here is the people we wanted here. You look at 1836 at the map, that wasn't even they didn't even get up to Northport. That whole area isn't even mapped. That's where my grandma's people are from, and they would send missionaries and that up there, and then they disappear. And we go, what happened to the last ones we sent? They must have wandered into the water. Could they gone? My grandmother could recall seeing her first white person. She was born in 1898. And it was in those days, like my grandpa, my great-great-grandpa was the postmaster general. All the Anishinaabe were. We were the only ones up here. And the non-tribal people that came in the area had to learn our language in order to create commerce with us because we controlled the straits. The Odawa controlled the straits. And so if you wanted commerce with us, you better make friends with us and speak our language. Boy, did that switch quick. That switched really quick. Grandma was born in 1898 and got out of government school by 1917, 1915. Something like that. Yeah. But the salvage edge is passed down from matriarch to daughter on down, and it wouldn't change from that pattern. So if I knew for sure, you know, what community made it, because we were bartering these back and forth. Like some weavers were better than others. It's sort of like, do you want a blanket or you want a quilt? Okay, right? So, you know, I got a blanket for you, but we have this quilt, you know? So it's like that. Now, and this is what diagonal weave looks like. They go sideways like that, and the string coming across there is also basswood cordage. So also spun on my thigh, but I left part of it out. It just, the color on there, this is after it's redded. It's not supposed to be green, not redded, but sun bleached and boiled. And this will become a mat. This is this is also diagonal weave, and there's not a lot of what can you do with it. It's about color placement. Where can you put the color and how you do it, and then it can switch it and make it go back the other way. So it creates these diamonds, interlocking diamonds, and
Or, how do you?
weave it. Good. You're asking all the right questions. I like your questions. It is actually, yeah, on the cattail mats are done on the ground. Okay, but I hang them because I'm an old lady. These mats are done the same way, hanging. That's why I modified and did the cattail mats hanging like the bulrush. It has a rigid bar coming across, and then this string coming down the end, you see it on there? That's what the weft is tied to throughout the entire piece. That string is taut and on a stake in the ground. So the frame is out of a string and a board. But yeah. Let's go to the next. This, what is this? Why are we looking at it like that? Oh, this is a straight weave, what I call straight weave, but I'm moving the black over the straight weave in order to create this effect. It's kind of cool to see it on a big screen. I don't get to see this, you know, it's, yeah. And so some of the other designs that come out of there, these are reproductions of pieces that I've seen in other ones, and I have, only the artist can really interpret what it is that they're trying to create. So I don't try and look at someone else's piece and say, this is what they were trying to do, but it can speak to you. I see this. It's according to my life path. So, yeah, this is about rice. I'll tell you that. wild rice. Next one. And community. Yeah, this is a different, cool. I haven't got to see him on a big screen. I'm enjoying this as much as you are. Yeah,
So, this was like in Arizona, I can remember exactly where, but some of the blankets that I've seen, they would leave one thread that wasn't attached, and my understanding is that was for infinity. Is that?
is there something like that here?
Yes.
Yes.
Bring that too.
Yes, but it's not like that. Okay, good question. Bulrush mats had multi-purpose. Sometimes they were used as flooring material just to walk on. Other ones were used inside of our longhouse. Remember that, excuse me, that earlier structure with cattails on the outside? Bulrush would be on the inside. And so you'd never see the frame at all. It would just be covered with this outer and inner wall that creates what? Air, which is good insulation, right? So when the mats are put up in a longhouse, which is a community structure, the designs and the color on there would have the proper seat placement for people to recognize. So when you go in, oh, my clan is sitting over here because those are our clan colors. It's sort of like stained glass windows when you go into a church, it tells a story. So do the mats. And so if a mat, to me, my interpretation, I'm going to own this. It's not written down. Nobody's ever told me how. Oh, yeah. Just through my experience with other weavers' mats in the museums and things like that, is the mat is completely balanced like this one. This one is just has this purpose. But if it has a design where it continues, then it's part of a wall. And it would be inside the wigwam. You could go in there and say, oh, this is my clan. This is where I sit. This is where the men sit. This is where the women sit. This is where this clan sits. All of those activities go on. So it's sort of like that we would understand and be able to interpret that right away. Miigwech. Next one. And so this is cedar. I borrowed that salvage edge from Northwest Coast until I learned ours. When I put black ash down, I had to pick up something else. And so I picked up bulrush and all these other things. And I didn't know that salvage edge until I got to see some pieces in the museum and taught myself how to do it. Yes.
When you're saying salvage edge, and are you like starting at the top?
Or the bottom.
Okay, so
The bags are in the center, so they're seamless bags. So they're done in a spiral, but mats are done, top to bottom. Yeah. So, and not always dyed. The coolest thing about cedar is that it can be, what do you call it? Oxidized. I put it in water with iron and it turns it black in 2 or 3 days. Next one. Cedar hat, just looks cool. I didn't wear my hat. It's kind of nifty. I do it on a frame. It's the cedar is like weaving wet noodles when it's moist, and it stays in place really well, but it's easier to do it on a mold. Next one, I wanted to just show you how the design kind of moves and with numbers. All I had to do is shift it by 1 to create that effect. Next one. Yeah, this is a bag. It's diagonal. It started at the bottom and then it's folded and then kind of magical. It's like geometry. But before, as we get ready to close, I wanted to bring you to a place. The next picture, I think, is gonna, or the next one after, I'm just showing off. Now I was throwing some things inside of there. These are cedar bags that I make for every day, you know, that we can use. And that's basswood puffs on there, just because they're cool. I don't know. I mean, next thing, I wanted to get you to this part right here. This is a spot, I wanted to leave you understanding that this is not normal. This happened not far from St. Ignace, which is in my territory, on my watch, in my lifetime. And pretendian people, we call them pretendians, people who claim to have Native heritage but don't, because they love our culture and our community, wanted to mimic what we're doing and raped this area of cedar. This cedar forest, these trees were way over 300 years. This will not recover for my great grandkids. Over 300 trees, this was done to in a very small area that was devastated. Next one. I had to squish this down. This is 8 foot. So they went in and girdered all of those. This is called girdering. You cannot girder a tree and it live. It will die. So at the moment, we have permission from the NRD. I found this area with a Sault Ste. Marie person, and we're now watching it, but it took them like a few years to come up and keep doing this. This is very dangerous. It's very important that people that have the relationship with the area, remember how many times we came up here, how many bulrush I passed in order to come to an area, because I bonded with this area. My ancestors have bonded with this area, and these trees are screaming to me. When I went in there, all I saw was red dresses hanging everywhere. That's what I saw. This is woman's medicine. This happened in my woods on my watch in my lifetime, and I am responsible for that. So I can't leave a presentation like this and an opportunity to tell you, Amgwamsit, be very careful when we want to embrace something else, to do it carefully and prayerfully, because these are alive. These fibers and these places and Shkokamekwa, the earth is alive. Next one. And the next one. The whole area, it's all within a mile. Just one right after another, as far as you can see. I mean, it was just terrible.
Great to harvest this tree and have it become something meaningful.
And so we
in
are.
spite of
What happened, the
Yeah.
DNR, the question is, can we use the fiber after the tree? Yes, and we are. They're dead and standing, and we're going up and we're timbering that and creating boards. And we use cedar to make feather boxes, because cedar is a natural deterrent to aphids and bugs that get on our feathers. And so we store our feathers and some of our things inside cedar boxes. And so we're going up and getting the cedar to create cedar boxes and make something useful. We've, prayed and had ceremony and feasted the area and apologized. We had to apologize. This happened. It was an assault on me. I take it very personal when this happens, because, next one, please. When I go into an area, see that way over there? That's what you see. One piece. So in order to create a mat, I'm going from tree to tree to tree. I would never take a whole sheet of cedar, and never Never, never. Look at how big and beautiful these are. And I can't harvest from each and every one or I'll weaken the growth. Remember, I'm opening it up for disease and it's going to scar. It'll create like a big scar coming across, but very small. So when you come across a place like that, know that either I was there or one of my ancestors were there, and you can take a moment to reflect on what they were making in that area. Next one. This is an old scar. See it? How it, yeah. And that's right next to, that's down by Stutzmanville Road, not far. Yes.
Portion above where they,
The bark.
yeah.
It's just, it was as difficult as the ice storm. Remember when you looked out and you saw that damage and how that felt? That's how I feel when I look at what they've done. Next one, you can see the normal harvesting on there. See back here. This is another tree, but it is actually, this is cedar. This one here, this is basswood. See the leaves? It looks like a heart. And that's an old scar from somebody taking basswood from that. So it'll leave a scar like that. I'm sorry, I'm up walking around now. Okay, next one is our community, when it's done correctly and done with love and respect, then we get to come together and create these mats. This is a feasting mat. The mat is laid on the ground and all of the food is put out on the ground and we go and eat in a ceremonious way. But look at all of the happiness that's going on in there and passing it down. I don't know if you could see the girls, the little girls in there, but these little girls are going to get to grow up watching this kind of activity go on every year. Numbers, it's all about numbers. Next one. This is us defending our spot. This is what it looks like when we go out and get cedar. These are two of the apprentices that work with me. We actually went out to have ceremony for those trees up there and went and harvested in the proper way. Yeah. Now, next one is Kijita Mesoe. This is it. And well done. Miigwech, very much for your attention. And if you have any questions or you want to, excuse me, look at those pieces close.
And got baskets. And I still use them, and they're probably, I don't know,